Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and the Lord's amendments for the Employment Rights Bill are being debated and voted on in the House of Commons today, I think, where the government say they will reject the attempted dilution from the Lib Dems and Tories. But beyond Westminster, shall we go back to the poll showing just how popular this bill is with the public? And I mean wildly popular, with exactly the voters Labour have been trying and failing to win over. It's like I've been saying for a long time, key voters really love what Labour are doing. They just don't know what Labour are doing. Starmer needs to reflect on this quite spectacular poll at last, which I've discussed in the past, and realise this is what he should be talking about 24/7. But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. So Starmer has described this bill as delivering the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation. Absolute rubbish. It's the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in at least 3 generations. I challenge anyone to show me legislation that does more for workers' rights than this that was passed since the days of Thatcher. Starmer needs to be hyping the hell out of it. And it's not just popular with a niche group of voters who will probably vote Labour anyway. It's very popular with exactly the voters Labour have been trying and failing to win over with talk of tougher asylum measures. This poll, published like half a year ago, a collaboration between the TUC and Hope Not Hate, funded by Dale Vince, is a spectacular piece of work. It's a 45,000 sample, which is massive. You can't argue about the sample size there. That is MRP polling. And that's what it is as well, because it breaks down people's views by constituency. And what it found even blew me away at the time. I knew it was popular with disaffected Labour to reform swing voters from less comprehensive polling, but even I didn't appreciate just how much. You may have seen the Vox Pops recently, where some people in Farage's constituency of Clacton, they were asked about certain bad employment practices and what they would think of legislation that would ban them. And they all approved of the move. Then they were told, who do you think voted against it? Oh, I don't know. I'll give you a clue. It was your MP. And they were shocked. They were shocked that Nigel Farage would vote against workers' rights. The bottom line is this legislation is hugely popular when people are told about it. They're not being told about it. Labour needs to be talking about this all the time. Do press conferences on this, not piss in asylum, on this. Then, when you've finally gotten the message to the public, casually mention that Farage forced his MPs to vote against it repeatedly. I mean, look at some of these results. You got 77% of voters who've switched from Labour to Reform who support protection from unfair dismissal. 83% of low-income female Reform supporters aged between 35 and 44. That's a key group for Labour. That was a key group for Labour at the last election. It will be at the next election. Like, this poll is showing that if Labour pick out their key target voters, it's not just the case that the Employment Rights Bill is popular. It's overwhelmingly popular. You know, these are the sorts of numbers which mean you can win those people back with just this one policy. And that's just one measure in the bill. You've got overwhelming, like over 3/4 support for just one measure in the bill detail there, but there are dozens of new rights coming online. In Clacton, the poll showed 70% support for banning 0 hours contracts, 71% support for day one sick pay. Similar numbers in Barnsley South. Now that's Labour, but that's going to be a key reform target. 75% support banning 0 hours contracts, 70% support day one sick pay. Labour's actually doing what these voters want, and Farage is opposing what these voters want. It's just that millions of voters don't actually know what either Labour or Reform UK are really up to. Now, this suits Nigel Farage's grift, of course, so he's not going to tell them, so Starmer must. Any competent political strategist would have been urging the Cabinet to talk about nothing else for months. Now, Labour are also doing other things which are popular with these Reform swing voters as well. You'd certainly want to mention those if you can. Their policies on net zero, for example. They're known to be popular with most Reform supporters from other polling, but not to the same extent as some of the provisions in the Employment Rights Bill. Day one rights for workers, banning hire and refire, end to what are being termed exploitative 0 hours contracts, which means you can't be forced into a 0 hours contract you don't want. Labour need to stop thinking of Reform supporters as motivated by racism. Yes, there's a core that are. That's not enough to properly propel Reform UK to power, or even the dizzying heights of double-digit numbers of MPs, let alone triple. Reform UK have doubled their support in a year, based on the notion that Labour aren't actually making things better. But they are. What they aren't doing is communicating their work to the public, because they consume all of their bandwidth for asylum, the one policy area where Labour cannot possibly beat their rival. And because they keep talking about it, they're helping to solidify the policy area as a key one for the public. Stop! Literally stop talking about it completely. Yes, you have policies in place and you can talk about those when asked, because journalists will keep asking. But when Labour get to decide the topic of conversation, never in a million years should they be choosing asylum. Choose the employment rights coming online, and they can milk that cow for a year and a half, because it's very close to passing into law now. Then, so a couple of bits apply immediately, but mainly there's an implementation period. So some rights will come into force next spring. Then there'll be more next autumn, and then the rest of them in spring 2027. That is a year and a half where you can keep hyping what's coming. Then, when that's done and the messages hit home, it'll be mid-2027, and then they can start to point at all the nice, shiny best start centres, better energy infrastructure, more affordable and social housing, better access to the NHS. That's how you take the fight to reform. It's not even complicated. Today, Labour MPs will be voting to tear up the attempts by the House of Lords to water the bill down. Use that as a springboard to launch a year of non-stop talking about workers' rights. Asylum is where Farage comes across as strong. Workers' rights is where Starmer is strong. How difficult is it to understand that you choose the battleground where you are strongest? You don't win over swing voters by promising to be a weaker version of your rival. Didn't work for Sunak, won't work for Starmer, nor should it. Be different. Be openly different. Be proudly different. We're nothing like them. Don't try and be an echo of them. We're nothing like them. Starmer calling the Tommy Robinson thugs racist shits yesterday. That was a good start. Wasn't the exact words, but the meaning was the same. Now take the fight to Reform UK from a position of strength. Even tie in a few other things maybe. Like use the slogan, workers' rights are human rights. That is why we're boosting workers' rights, right? Make the next election a choice between a government who gives people more rights and protections against one who only talks about taking rights away. Freedom versus servitude. That can actually be Labour's next election campaign slogan. I'll give them 2 slogans for free, right? There are just so many ways in which Labour can actually stand up and take the fight to Farage. Clear out the shit advisors who are going, oh, we need to be a bit careful, don't want to offend them. You're not going to offend the voters. Those voters want someone who stands up, right? They want someone who's combative. That's why they're attracted to Farage. He's combative, right? Get some in-your-face political beasts instead. Like turning Starmer from a hamster into a lion is as simple as picking the right battles. He can read the words. His statement yesterday was absolutely fine. More of that, please. Asylum's the wrong battle. Workers' rights is the right battle, with a few useful skirmishes on, like, no net zero, the NHS, not giving UK taxpayer money to the Taliban. But let me know what you think in the comments below. For more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams and behind the scenes updates. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.